We all know the important founding fathers: George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, even John Hancock. What about the others? And what even is a founding father? Surprisingly, that doesn't really have an answer. But since today is the 250th anniversary of the Declaration, we're just going to be talking about founding fathers as anyone who signed the Declaration of Independence and or made major tactical contributions to the war effort. Declaration. Charles Carroll III. Charles Carroll II, despite being one of the wealthiest men in the state, was prevented from entering politics in Maryland for being a Catholic. His son would not only see a restoration of religious tolerance in the state, but also in a new country. Charles Carroll III became a leading voice for independence, which he believed would require war, in the early 1770s, writing criticism of colonial governance under the pen name of First Citizen, and debated loyalists through those writings under the pseudonym Antillean. I guess he couldn't decide which sounded cooler. Carroll would attend the Continental Congress and become the only Catholic signer of the Declaration. But, at the signing, this happened. Hey Charles, why don't you give us a little more than that? I've met like 5 Charles Carrolls this year. They're not gonna know which one to hang. Oh yeah? Look at this. Charles Carroll of Carrollton. Yeah, okay, you realize that doesn't change anything at all. He also gave a lot of financial support to the cause from his own coffers. After becoming the first Catholic senator, it would be exactly 60 years until the next one, he just kinda retired. That is until he placed the first stone in the building of a railroad and had the first train song written about him, and erected the tallest still standing tower in the United States until the Washington Monument. He died in 1832, the last living signer of the Declaration of Independence. Benjamin Harrison V. In the early 1770s, he became a leading figure in the resistance against British taxation in Virginia and would go on to sign the Declaration of Independence. While in Congress, he roomed with George Washington and President of the Continental Congress, Peyton Randolph. That would make a good sitcom. He was known for his jokes there as well, and when the Declaration was being signed, at one point he went up to Elbridge Gerry, future vice president, and this happened. I shall have a great advantage over you, Mr. Gerry, when we are all hung for what we are now doing. From the size and weight of my body, I shall die in a few minutes and be with the angels. But from the lightness of your body, you will dance in the air for an hour or two before you are dead. I feel like there's gotta be some context that's missing. And why the gerrymandering guy in particular? That's why he's on here. That's legendary. He went on to serve as governor of Virginia and was father of William Henry Harrison. Robert Morris. Despite being born in Great Britain, Morris moved to America and went against British taxation as a merchant. One of only 2 people to sign the Declaration of Independence, Articles of Confederation, and the Constitution, Morris is known as the financier of the Revolution, since he helped supply the army with his fortune and was superintendent of finance during it, basically becoming the first Secretary of the Treasury, where he quickly learned how much the Articles of Confederation sucked and that the government needed money. In his later years, he was a senator and in the late 1790s actually went to debtor's prison after losing all his money. Military. John Barry, the first ever commissioned naval officer under the rank of Commodore. This Catholic is often called Father of the U.S. Navy along with the more well-known John Adams and John Paul Jones. Barry commanded several ships somewhat successfully, putting down 3 mutinies and doing jobs such as transporting diplomats to France and capturing British privateers. He died of asthma. Kinda crazy how that used to just happen. Jean-Baptiste Donatien de Vimeur, Comte de Rochambeau. You might have heard Rochambeau said instead of rock, paper, scissors before, and it's likely to be named after him in a convoluted way, since rock, paper, scissors in French sounds similar to Rochambeau, so someone who knew about him probably thought it was that. I just thought that was interesting. After the alliance with France, he went to America with an army and grouped with Washington and helped in the siege at Yorktown to make Cornwallis surrender. Andrzej Tadeusz Bonaventura Kościuszko. I really should have looked up the pronunciation for these. After his brother squandered his family fortune, Kościuszko couldn't afford to keep his military rank, so he decided to go to America to help with the revolution when he heard of it. When he arrived, he was put in charge of creating fortifications and built up some of the most fordable ones, including West Point with his great innovations. A lot of his suggestions were ignored though, including him successfully predicting Burgoyne's strategy. but he did eventually help in the win at Saratoga. When given an African-American assistant meant to be treated as a slave, Kościuszko treated him as an equal and a friend. Kościuszko went on to be in charge of fortifications under Nathaniel Greene in the south, where he assisted in almost completely destroying the British army there, helping him earn the title of the Hero of Two Worlds, which is also given to the more famous Marquis de Lafayette for similar reasons, and Giuseppe Garibaldi for unrelated reasons.